Hilchos Ishus Perek Shneim Asar, the laws of marriage, chapter 12. We're starting really a new section within this section of halachot. It's 25 chapters long. The first 11 we spent on defining kiddushin and nisuin, the basic stages of creating a marriage. Now, from today till about chapter 23, we're going to be talking about the chiyuvim, the obligations that a man has to his wife during a marriage, and that the wife has to the husband during a marriage. Does she have any obligations? Maybe. Of course she does. I know today it's not so PC to say that. Today we have all the obligations. But no, according to the Torah, there's obligations. Less. We're going to see the man has more obligations than the woman. But nevertheless, there's some obligations. Halacha Aleph, Kishanoisei Adam Isha. When a man marries a woman, bein besula, bein beula, bein gedayla, bein ketana, whether she's a virgin or not, whether she's an adult or not, achas bas Yisrael, va'achas hagiyeides, oyam mishuchredes, whether she's born Jewish, whether she's a convert, whether she was a slave and then she was freed, yischayev la ba'asara dvarim, v'yizke ba'arba'a dvarim. He is obligated to give her 10 things, and he merits from her, he gets from her 4 things. Only 4. I know it's not so much. You have to give 10, you get 4 back. That's the way it works. It says that Rambam halacha beis v'ho asara. These 10 things that a man is obligated to give his wife, shleisha mehen min haTorah. 3 of them are biblical. The eluhein, they are the following, the ones in the pasuk, right here on the screen. She'era, ksusa, ve'oinasa. It says in the Torah, if a person marries a woman, he can never reduce she'era, ksuta, ve'onata. What do these 3 things mean? She'era elu mezeniseha. She'era means her food. He needs to provide for her in terms of physical support. And that's going to be the main topic of today's perek. The main topic is going to be defining what does it mean to provide food. What does it look like to provide food for your wife? Ksusa, kimashmoi, clothing. That's like it sounds, clothing. That's going to be tomorrow's chapter, all about clothing. Oinasa, lavayaleha kederach kol haaretz. Oinasa literally means her time, but it means having relations with her like every normal human being. And that's going to be the topic of chapter 14. The other 7 are rabbinic. The kulan tanai beis dinheim, they are all conditions made by the court that if you want to get married, you have to follow. Huh? Onata is relations, marital relations. We'll see, chapter 14. Only when she wants, never when you want. Okay. The other 7 are rabbinic in nature. The kulan tanai beis dinheim, and they're all conditions made by the court that if you want to get married, you have to give your wife these 7 things. Ha'echad mehem, the first one is what we learned actually in earlier chapters, ikar ksuba, the concept of providing your wife with the ketubah money, the commitment that if the marriage ends, either because of death or because of divorce, your estate will give her X amount of money. The hashar, hemanikrayin, tanai ksuba, the rest are called the conditions of the ksuba. The eluhein, they are the following. L'rapoisa im chalsa. You need to heal her, pay her medical bills if she gets sick. B'lifdoisa im nishbeis. You need to redeem her from captivity if she gets held captive. L'kavra im mesa. You have to pay for the burial expenses if she dies. B'liyos nizoines min nechasav. V'yosheves beveisai achar moisai. Kol zman al menusa. If the husband passes away, the woman can keep on taking support from the estate and keep on living in his house as long as she remains a widow and doesn't get remarried. A special halacha that any daughters that he has from this woman can also take money from the estate till they get engaged. And number 6, any male children will get to inherit the money promised in the ksuba over and above the classical division of the inheritance. This is going to be a whole chapter, I believe chapter 19. But let's see what it looks like in short. That's the picture on the screen. Here you have a man. Whoops, something's wrong with my computer. Here we go. Here you have a man who married 2 wives. Okay, he gave each of them a ksuba. That's the little document there. And in it, he promised different amounts of money. So this woman, he promises her 10K if he divorces or dies. And this woman, he promises 5K if he divorces or dies. From each wife, you can see he has 2 sons. Okay? Now, the case is, both of the wives passed away first. So the husband outlived both wives. both wives passed away. According to halacha, when your wife passes away before you, this money that you promised actually goes back to you. Biblically. Yeah, if she passes away before you, the money goes back to you. However, now let's say when the person dies, he ends up only leaving 20K. That's all he has to his name, 20K. So if you go evenly, if you divide it between all his 4 sons evenly, each one's going to walk away with $5,000. Like it says 20,000, 5, 5, 5, and 5. But these 2 sons are going to say to these two sons are going to say to these 2 sons, one second. When our moms were alive, she owned 10K of our father's estate, and your mom only owned 5K. So technically, since we're her children, we should get that amount before we divide the 20K. So we should take 10K, you guys should take 5K, and the other 5,000 will divide 2.5, 2.5. That's the rabbinic halacha, that we do that. Biblically, you don't have to do that. But rabbinically, the children of this wife inherit first the amount promised in their ketubah, over and above, in other words, before they divide the rest of the estate. First, this one takes the ketubah, that one takes the ketubah, and whatever is left, that you divide equally. And again, we're going to have much more detail in this, chapter 19. Hang in there, but that's the basic thing.
They fight over it. If the father owes something, do they fight to pay the oath?
It's another thing. Talk about that. It's all going to be discussed. Now we're talking about the ketubah. Similar. We'll get there. Okay? So that's the 7 things that the husband has to give his wife, midivrei sofrim, rabbinically. Gimel v'harba shazeicha bahen, the 4 things that the husband gets from his wife, kula midivrei sofrim, they're all rabbinic. Ve'elu hey, and they are the following. Number 1, liyos masa yadeh shaloi. Any money she makes from doing work goes to him. Opa. No separate bank accounts. V'liyos mitziasa shaloi. Anything she finds, any lost object she finds, goes to him. If she brings in any property or fields into the marriage, whatever those fields or properties produce, he can benefit from. He doesn't have any rights to the land, but anything which grows, any proceeds, he gets to have. The imesa b'chayav, and number 4 is if she dies in his lifetime, yirashena, he inherits all of her estate. V'hu kaidem l'chaladam b'Yerusha, and he comes before anybody else. If he's alive, when she passes away, he gets the whole estate. That's the 4 rabbinic things. Says the Rambam halacha dalid, v'oy tiknu chachamim. The sages then made another takana. They said, look, there's 10 things going from the husband to the wife. There's 4 things going from the wife to the husband. 3 of them are going to cancel out each other. Watch how this happens. The woman's handiwork will be considered corresponding to her food. The redemption that the husband has to do goes against eating the fruit from her land. And the burial that he provides for her will correspond to the rights that he has to inherit her ketubah. And therefore, what does that mean, this corresponding chain? Lefichach, therefore, im amra ha'isha, if a woman says to her husband, look, eini nizaynes ve'eini aisa, I don't need your support, and I'm not making my work for you. I want to work independently. I believe my business can provide for me all the food that I need. So you know what? You keep yours and I'll keep mine. You don't have to give me food. I'm not going to make my handiwork for you. Shayminla. Then we listen to her if she says so. Ve'ein kaifin, so we don't force her. That's what the sages meant. The food is opposite, it's corresponding to the handiwork. In other words, the reason that the woman gives the husband the handiwork is because he provides her with food. But if she says, I don't want your food, she can keep her handiwork. Avalim amar habal. But it doesn't work from the husband's side. If the husband says, Eini zanach ve'eini netel l'klum mimasi yadayich, hey listen, I'm not going to support you and don't give me any of your work, it's not the husband's prerogative. She can say that. He cannot say that. Ein shaymin like. We don't listen to him. Why? Maybe her handiwork is not going to be enough to support her. And because of this takana, this creating this corresponding chart, so this food actually turns into one of the rabbinic conditions of a ketubah. Even though dryly, it's written in the Torah, she'era, it's your obligation biblically, but it also becomes one of the Tanai Ketubah, one of the conditions in the Ksuba. Says that Rambam Malacha, hey, and by the way, the same thing applies to the other things. He's not going to say it clearly over here. We'll soon see about that. We'll see about it later. There's special melachot that a woman has to do at home. By the way, the same thing applies to the other stuff. The redemption for the fruit. Let's say if the wife tells the husband, listen, I want to have all the fruit from my land, and in case I get held captive, you don't have to redeem me. She can relinquish that right because these things correspond to each other. It says that hey, all of these things we just mentioned, even if the husband never ended up writing it into the ketubah, even if there was no ketubah at all, they just got married. The moment they get married, these obligations go into effect. The man gets his 4 things, the woman gets her 10 things. No need to even be explicit about it because it's so automatic, it's so self-understood in the rabbinic context of marriage. Let's say before they went into the marriage, the husband tells the wife, you know what? I don't want to take responsibility for one of those 4 things. Let's say, I don't want to redeem you if you get captive, or I don't want to bury you if you die. Or the woman said, before we go into the marriage, listen, I don't want that my lost objects should go to you. I don't want one of the 10 things, I don't want, one of the 4 things, I don't want to give it to you.
Which is basically prenuptial agreement?
Yeah, like a prenuptial agreement. Hatnai kayam. So bottom line is, the condition is valid, except for 3 things, which no condition can help. If you make a condition about them, the condition is nullified. They are the following: Aynasa, conjugal relations. You cannot go into a marriage if relations are off the table. The ikar ksubasa, the main fare of the ketubah, the basic commitment of 200 or 100 coins, that's non-negotiable. Virushasa, and the husband's right to inherit his wife's property. The woman cannot say, hey, we're not getting married unless you don't inherit me. That doesn't work. These are things that are called matneh al masha katuv b'Torah. I wonder if we have this from a previous chapter. I believe I did mention it. No, you cannot.
You cannot. So
You cannot. Where's the slide that we had over here? Oh, this is the rule. Kol hamasna al masha kasav b'Torah t'nai batel. A stipulation made against the Torah is cancelled. And that's referring to specifically these 3 things in the context of marriage. As the Rambam says, Ketzad, Allah Chazayin, what does that look like? Hisna'ima isha. If a man makes a condition with a woman, she'ein la alav aina. We're going to get married, but don't expect any relations from me. T'nai batel. The condition is cancelled. V'chayav ba'inasa. He is still obligated to provide relations at the proper time. Sharei hisna al masha kasav b'Torah. Because he's making a condition against what it says in the Torah, the einoi t'nai mammon, and it's not a monetary condition. Monetary conditions, the Torah allows you to relinquish. But bodily conditions, you cannot. Same thing, hisna ima livches meikar ksuba. Let's say she's a virgin. He's supposed to give her 200 coins. He says, you know what, I'm giving you 150. Or he does a workaround. He says, look, I'll put it in the document, I'll put 200 or 100 properly. Kasav la Masai meikar ksuba. The kasav aloi, then she writes him a receipt. Sheniskabla mehen kach v'kach, that she already got $100. V'hilei niskabla, when she never actually did. T'nai batla, that kind of condition, it's a fake, and it's cancelled. Shekala peiches libsula mimasayim v'lalmana mimat mimeya harei bi'ilase bi'ilas nus. Anybody who gives to a virgin less than 200 coins, or to a non-virgin less than 100 coins, any relations that they have will be like promiscuous, will be like znut. You have to have a proper ketubah, at least 200 for a virgin, at least 100 for a regular woman. Halacha tes, hisna ima achar shenasa, shelo yirashena. Similarly, if a husband makes a condition after they get married, that he will not inherit her, t'nai batel. It's a cancelled condition. The afal pisha yerusha sabal medivrei seifrim. Even though the fact that a husband inherits is only rabbinic, also chizuk ledivreim k'shel Torah. The sages treated it with extra strength, like a matter of Torah. The same way you cannot make a stipulation against the Torah, you cannot make a stipulation against this rabbinic condition of inheritance. Any conditions related to inheritance are cancelled, even if it's a monetary condition. Because look what it says about Yerusha. This is the verse. Whoops, where am I? This is the verse in the Torah, in Parshat Pinchas. All the laws of inheritance were given to us when the 5 daughters of Tzalafchad came and asked for a portion in the land of Israel, that's when the laws of Yerusha were introduced. And Hashem says, if a man dies without children, with children, it goes to the son. If there's no sons, it goes to the daughter, etc., etc. But then it says at the end, "V'hayta livnei Yisrael lechukat mishpat." This whole law of inheritance is going to be a special statute of justice, which means that it's an everlasting thing. You cannot change it. And therefore, no conditions can be made against it. Anything else, the condition is valid. Let's say a guy goes into a marriage. He says, I don't want to give you any clothing. I don't want to give you any food. You take care of yourself. Or, I won't take the proceeds from your land. Let's go into a marriage on that condition. Anything like that, the condition is valid. It's fine. It's okay. So now we're done outlining the general parameters of the obligations back and forth. Now we're going to go one by one through each one, defining it at length. And we begin with mizonot. We begin with the obligation of food. It says that how much food must be given to a woman in the context of a regular marriage? Here's the basic obligation. Bread, you have to give her enough bread for 2 meals a day. On a regular meal, an average meal, what a regular person would eat, not a sick guy, not a gluttonous man. Sick people eat less, gluttonous men eat more. No, a regular average meal. You also have to provide the type of food that an average person in the city will eat. If it's wheat, it's wheat. If it's barley, it's barley. Or if it's rice or millet, whatever grain it is that people normally eat bread, that's the type of bread you have to provide for your wife, enough for 2 meals a day.
She's the cook.
Now, besides for the bread, you have to also give her other foods that are eaten together with bread. Legumes, vegetables, or the like. You have to also provide her with oil for food and also oil for candle lighting. For light, there was no electricity. That's part of food. Part of basic support is providing her with oil for a lamp. Upeidos, fruit. A little bit of wine to drink, if it was the custom of the place that women drank wine. And on Shabbat, 3 meals, plus some meat and some fish, as the place had the custom. Additionally, every week, you have to give her a ma'ah. Ma'ah is a certain coinage of silver for all of her needs. It's like a allowance. Here's your budget for the week, take care of yourself. Copper coins for laundry, copper coins for the bathhouse, anything like it. This is the minimum. When are we talking about? The poorest of Jews. The poorest of Jews has to provide for his wife this basic amount. 2 breads per day, a little bit of condiments, appetizers, and oil, etc. But if you were rich, everything goes according to your riches. You can afford more, you got to give your wife more. If your money had enough in the budget to make a number of meat dishes every day, we force him. And you have to give her food and support according to what you can afford. If you're so poor, you can't even provide the basic necessities, you can't even give the basic bread, you know how extreme it is? We force him to divorce his wife. You cannot provide for her, get her out of the marriage. She'll be better off without you. And the money that he committed in the ketubah will be a loan, and he'll have to pay it out slowly. But if you cannot provide your wife's food, the rabbis will force you out of the marriage. Yud Beis. Let's say a husband tells his wife, listen, it's hard to understand nowadays, but this is how olden day marriages used to work. The husband tells his wife, listen, I'm going to provide for you all the food you need, but you're going to eat meals yourself. I don't want to eat with you. I'll eat myself, you eat yourself, but I'll take care of you. But you eat in a different house. He has the permission. So long as once a week they eat together. Friday night, they eat together. The rest of the week, you don't have to have dinner together. What if there's a woman who was allotted support and there's extra? Hamoisher labal goes back to the husband. The woman cannot say, hey, now I have extra, now I get to keep it, I can do business with it on the side. No. Whatever you use. Whatever you don't use comes back. Haya baila kohen. If the husband was a kohen, einay noisin la kol mezeneseha truma. He doesn't have a right to give her only food from truma. I love this slide. We keep going back to it. Whenever there's a farmer that has food, the first thing you have to do is give 2% to the kohen, truma. So you have to think about it. If David is living in a city where there's only farmers around, he's going to be getting a lot of truma. Everyone in the city is giving the Kohanes all their food. So the Kohen is having a lot of food. So it's easy for him to say, hey, hand it off to his wife, right? My wife needs food. I'm anyway getting all this truma stuff. Let me just give it to her. The problem is you can't do that. Why? Truma, in the 7th book of the Rambam, we're going to see at length, you have to eat it in a very special way. It has to be kept pure. You can't just do anything you wanted with it. So the woman says, listen, it's too much work. You're giving me carrots from truma, apples from truma, tomatoes, everything is truma. I have to watch everything, be careful with everything. It's too much work. So so she has that right. The Kohen cannot give her only truma food.
They cannot be paid in monetary form?
Huh?
The food itself?
No, truma is food itself. Truma is food itself, yeah. What you do is, you can give half and half. 50% you can give truma, but the other 50% you have to give regular food. It says the Rambam, the same way a person is obligated to provide food for his wife, part of that is that you have to also provide food for your young children. Till they're 6 years old. After they're 6 years old, of course you should keep on feeding them till they become adults, as the sages have enacted. But if you don't want, we can't really force you. We scream at him, we shame him, we beg him. If he still doesn't want, we make a public announcement against him. And we say, this guy is a cruel guy. And he doesn't want to support his kids. He's worse than an impure bird, a non-kosher bird who takes care of his own kids. But we cannot force him. After 6 years old, we cannot force him, but we will do everything in our power to shame him in the community. But until 6 years old, that's for sure an obligation. When do we say that we don't force the guy to feed his kids? If it's a person who we don't know that he has resources. And we don't know if he can provide with extra money for tzedakah or not. But if we know this guy has enough money in his bank account to provide, even as a charity, to provide for these kids that need to have food, we forcefully take the money from him as charity, and we feed the kids till they become adults, till they become bar mitzvah. Of course, by the way, today, most poskim say that because of the sociological changes and the way things work, you have an obligation to feed your kids and take care of them well past bar bat mitzvah. Of course, we're talking about way older. But the point is that till 6, it's an obligation. After 6, we cannot force you unless we know you have the money. Okay, now we move to a new topic within the food issue. Misha halach limedina acheres. What do we do if a husband goes on a journey? He travels. Now, who's going to take care of his wife's food? 2 months later, the husband's still not back. The woman comes to court, says, look, I need food. Help me. Says the Rambam. Halachic parameters, very interesting. Whoops. For the first 3 months after a husband leaves on a journey, the court will not take anything away from his property to feed the wife. There's a presumption. A person doesn't leave his house empty. But after 90 days, then the court will step in and they'll take care of her food. How does it work? They'll take care of her food. If he had real estate, the court had the right to go to his property, put it on the market, sell the real estate, and get money for food for the woman. During this time, we don't calculate How much money is she producing from her own handiwork? Typically, we said before that the money and the handiwork go together. But here we don't. Since the court is stepping in, we don't worry about her, how much is she producing. Until the husband shows up. When the husband shows up, if he finds that she made some money, then it will go back to him. But in the meantime, the court doesn't do this exchange. The court is just worried about providing the woman food, and that's it. Similarly, if the woman didn't go to court, she doesn't need the court, she can take care of herself. She sells her husband's property on her own to get food. The sale is valid. No need to make announcements, no need to take an oath. Unless her husband comes back and demands why she sold the property, then we can make her take an oath. Or later on, after he dies, and she comes to court to get the ketubah money, will roll onto her to take an oath that she only sold for food which she needs. Megalgalin is a term, it's called Gilgal Shvua. It's going to be much more expressed in the 13th book of the Rambam. But when you make an oath in court, if you're already under oath, we can roll onto that oath anything else we want. So if you're anyway in court swearing about something, we can make you swear about whatever else you want. So here also, if she comes to court to get her ketubah, we'll say, hey, you know what, once you're swearing for that, swear also that when you sold your husband's property, you only sold it for the minimal amount of food that you needed. The same way the court will intervene. And they'll sell property to provide food. For a wife whose husband has journeyed away, they will do the same to feed your children who are under 6 years old or less. A guy goes away from home, he leaves kids under this age, they need food, the court will step in and sell his property. But more than 6 years old, if he's not around, we cannot take from his property, even if he has resources, we cannot take to feed his kids if they're older than 6 years old. Similarly, if somebody went crazy, the court will intervene, take his property, sell them, and they'll feed his wife and kids, sons and daughters, under 6 years old, and they'll support for them other needs as well, because the guy went crazy, the court needs to step in. The Rambam now records an interesting argument between the Gaonim. Some Gaonim said, "She'ein poiskin mezainis leisha shehalach baila limdina sayam aisha meiz baila ad sheyehesh tar ksuba yetze mitachas yada." In order for a woman to get support when her husband takes a trip or her husband dies, she needs to show the ksuba document. She needs to show that her husband actually was married, to the court, actually was married, and she still has the rights to the ksuba. If she cannot produce the ketubah document, she will not get food. Why? Because the whole idea of getting food is a t'nai, is a condition on the ketubah. Okay. We have to suspect, shema not la ksubasa mi baila. Maybe she had taken the ketubah from her husband, or, in other words, maybe she had already collected the ksuba money, or she forfeited it, she pardoned it. In which case, she has no right to food, as will be explained. And since she has no right to food, so we're always worried, hey, maybe you already took your money. So only if you show us the ketubah will we give you food. The Rambam, however, disagrees with this. There are other Geonim who said, a woman shows up to court saying, I need food. You don't have to worry. She has a presumption. She didn't take her money. She didn't forfeit it. You give her food. We don't require her to produce a ketubah. Says the Rambam, I agree with this opinion if the case is that the husband took a trip. Since at that point she still gets food biblically, so she need not produce the ketubah to get it. But if the husband died and she's coming to collect food because her husband died, she gets no food until the ketubah is produced. Because the only right she has to get food after his death is rabbinic. So, show your rabbinic rights, show the ketubah. You can't show it, you don't get it. And another reason for that would be because in this case, she's really taking from the estate of the inheritors, of the heirs. And always, in court, we try to support an heir. If there's a boy or a girl who inherited an estate, we're going to do our best to protect them. So since the wife now wants to come and take money from them, we're going to step in and say, hey, bring your ketubah. If you cannot, then you cannot get the food. Yutes, holach ba'ila v'lav sava achla. What if the husband left? She didn't go to court, she didn't sell property, she took a loan. She goes to a friend, let me borrow $10,000, I'll pay you back when my husband gets back. When the husband comes, he's got to pay back, because you left your wife without food. But if some kind man stands up and says, hey, I see your husband's out of town, here, take 10 grand to support yourself. If the husband shows up, he doesn't have to pay back.
So once you said her loan is her loans,
Huh?
not the husband.
No. If she takes the loan, then he has to pay it back. But if a guy just gives her a gift, no need to pay it back. He destroyed his own money. He never gave the command. She never borrowed. If she borrowed, you got to cover that. She didn't borrow, you're off the hook. If a man is about to leave on a journey and he tells his wife, look, honey, I'm going on a trip. I don't have food for you. For this next while, whatever you produce, do some work and take that as your food. Indeed, she cannot claim to get more food. Because if she didn't believe that she could produce enough money to feed herself, or she didn't want this condition, she should respond. She should take him to court. To say to him, my handiwork doesn't give me enough food. If she was silent and she agreed, she cannot later come to court and say, I need more food. Husband made a condition, you took it, too bad. Let's say she came to court. They gave her food. They sold the property, they gave her money, or she sold it. The husband shows up and he says, what did you guys do? I left her a whole fridge and a whole storehouse full of food. Who gave you the right to sell my property? I left her food. There was enough food. The woman now needs to go to court and take an oath holding a Torah, like it's a very high level oath, that she never knew about the food, that he never left her any food. And then she wins. What if she didn't demand any food or she didn't sell any properties? Rather, she waited till he showed up. And then they had the fight. He says, I left you food. She says, no way. You didn't leave any food. I had to go get a loan from the friend to get food. Here, he takes the oath. And it's called Shvuas Heses. It's a lower level oath. It's a rabbinic oath. That he left her food, and he is exempt. Whatever loans she took remains on her. So again, if the court took action with real estate, and then he says, I left her food, then she wins. She takes the oath and she wins. If they're having a fight after he comes back, but a loan, not about a sale, he wins. What if she sells movable objects? Not real estate, a watch, a car. And she says, I sold it because I needed food. And he's saying, no, I left you food. You sold my Lamborghini. How could you do that? I left you food. She needs to swear the rabbinic oath that he left her no food. What if she was a really good woman? Husband left on a journey, she didn't demand any food, she didn't borrow anything, she didn't sell anything, she simply put herself through pressure day and night and produced money to feed herself. Ein la klum. She actually gets no reimbursement. You should have gone to court. Court will take care of you. You took matters into your own hands, you don't get anything. Now, the Rambam concludes the chapter with stuff related to mizonot. Not directly about food, related to food. A person makes a neder, makes a vow, preventing his wife from deriving any benefit from him. Whether he says, for 30 days or for a year, whether he says no time, indefinitely, no pleasure for me. The court waits 30 days. If during those 30 days the neder runs out, or they didn't run out, but he annuls the vow, good, go back to being married. If not, he must at this point divorce her. You cannot tell your wife, no more pleasure from me, and this way no more food. After a month, you got a divorce. During the 30 days of trial period, she can produce by her own handiwork and eat her own food. And have one of the friends support her with anything else that she needs over and above whatever she can produce. Must speak in if her handiwork doesn't produce enough food. But the point is that after 30 days, you got to divorce her. If a person makes a vow preventing his wife from tasting a specific type of food, I'll give you food, but no eating pineapple. Again, we wait 30 days. Yes, more than that, we force him to divorce. You cannot stop your wife from having a type of food forever. We force her. Even if the vow is to prevent her from eating bad food. I'm making a vow, you cannot eat cheesecake, too much cheesecake. It's bad for her. Even if he says, you cannot eat pumpkin seeds. She never ate pumpkin seeds in her life. Doesn't matter. You're stopping her from something. You must divorce her after 30 days and give the ksuba, because you cannot do that. You cannot stop your wife. What if she says, no more pineapple for me? The kiyim lahu es nidra, and the husband verifies the vow. Or she makes a vow to become a Nazirite, which means no wine, growing her hair, not so pretty. And he didn't nullify the vow. If he doesn't mind, he says, stay married to me, don't eat pineapple, be your Nazirite, she can stay. But if he says, I don't want a woman who has vows, he cannot take away her vow because he verified it, but Yetzivi thinks so, but he can divorce her and give her a ketubah. He could have annulled it. He didn't annul it. He kept it going. So therefore, if he wants to get rid of her, now he has to pay the ketubah. You got to pay the price. But otherwise, a woman making a vow doesn't affect the marriage in the way that a husband making a vow does.